Welcome back to Coffee Time, everyone. I'm Nate, and we have Mr. Eric here from IraqVeteran8888. Eric?
Nate, thanks for having me, buddy.
Thanks for being here. So everybody on the channel wants to know, how did you get your name?
Okay, it's funny. I made a video about this particular subject, and I'm not trying to defer you to that video. However, if you do want to watch that video, I give a pretty detailed explanation of how we came up with our name, but I'll give you the really brief penny tour version here just to answer your question. So back in the day, you know, when people first had email addresses, and it would be like whatever your hobby was and some random numbers, right?
Yep.
And people tend to still follow that basic formula. It just has kind of stuck. Sometimes it's an area code, sometimes it's just some random numbers. Maybe it's your, I don't know, your kid's birthday or something, or your birthday, whatever. So at the time, I was a really big fan of Dale Earnhardt Jr., and he had just taken on the number 88 on his race car. Now, it's funny because I'm trolled by this now because I'm not even really that much into racing anymore, okay? I don't really follow race car drivers anymore, but I chose the number 88, and it was taken. All right, so I wound up just choosing 4 8s because it just seemed like the natural progression, because I didn't know at the time when I was making this YouTube channel that it would wind up having 2.7 million subscribers and 750 million views.
Yeah.
So here we are, and that's actually one of the most common questions that I'm asked by people.
Sure.
Is how I came up with the numbers and the name and all, and there's all these weird convoluted conspiracies about what it might mean. And I promise, it's literally just Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s number twice. It's silly, it's dumb. If I could go back and do it again, I would have done something completely different, but here we are.
Hey, well, you're well known for it. In fact, I kind of consider you the godfather of gun YouTubing. And how would you say you got started, or what prompted you to start a YouTube channel about guns?
Well, so Chad and I, you know, we've known each other since like 9th grade in high school and everything, and, you know, used to go over to his family's property and do some shooting and everything. We got to hanging out, and we just got more and more enveloped into guns, just as not only as a hobby, but just as a sanctity of, you know, honoring our rights and trying to be more proficient and everything. We just started making videos. You know, Chad was really into photography in high school. His mother was actually the photographer for the local newspaper. So he had a photography background through his mother, and he was very interested in photography. And we had like a little 5 megapixel Sony CyberShot, like a little basic, you know, point and shoot camera with a little Tukey video mode on it, you know. And we just started recording and documenting things that we were doing at the range. And I just decided to post stuff on YouTube. It wasn't a plan. It wasn't like some great idea to build what it is now. It was literally just us being guys and just posting videos about things we happen to be doing at the range. And
awesome.
There was no rhyme or reason. There was no plan. We just sort of fell into it.
That's kind of cool. I mean, so something that you were just already doing, you decided to film, and then it became a giant YouTube channel.
That's correct.
That's awesome, man. So this is usually where we move into the meme segment. The viewers will get a little pop-up of the meme on the screen, but I'm going to hand you this one here.
All right, so the idea is I'm supposed to react?
Yes, we're getting your genuine reaction to this.
Okay, here we go. Ready?
Yes.
Since we are now redefining everything, this is a cordless hole puncher. Okay. Yeah, that totally what that is. Have you seen the, now you being a refinishing guy, I'm sure can definitely appreciate this. Have you seen the folks that have painted up their Glocks to look like DeWalt drills, 100%. And then they'll make a custom like DeWalt case to put it in? DeWalt,
Milwaukee, Makitas, 100%. We've done them here at the shop
There
before. You go. This one kind of reminds me of your gun room.
All right. What people think I mean when I say I'm pro-gun, what I actually mean, oh, that's a fact. Yeah, you know, it's crazy that so many people tend to, like when you watch the news and someone, and some person on the news that's reporting like, okay, maybe a drug bust or something, and they go, they found an arsenal of guns, and then they show a picture, and it's like a shotgun, a couple of rifles, a couple of pistols, and like 500 rounds of ammo and a Bowie knife or something, and you're thinking like, if I got in a wreck in my truck and it flipped over 2 or 3 times, that's just the shit that would be laying around in the road,
right.
like that just wound up coming out of my truck. Like, what are you talking about, arsenal?
Yeah, you have quite the collection, man.
I've been at it a long time.
Yeah, well, we had the awesome opportunity to check it all out, and man, I was just jaw to the ground with some of the stuff you have in there. Super cool.
A lot of people are surprised to see how many old school guns I have. Like everybody,
Yes.
because people see the meltdown videos and they see a lot of the modern stuff we do. And don't get me wrong, I love machine guns. I love doing the meltdown videos. I love shooting modern guns. But a lot of people are surprised at how many vintage pieces that I have, and I love old school guns. I have a soft spot for black powder and old military guns and stuff.
Yeah, basically like one whole side of your gun room is vintage guns. Is pretty badass. All right, so I want to ask you a question that's a little more substantial, kind of playing off of a recent video that you made.
Sure.
I was watching it yesterday. And what led me to your video was a short news clip of Ted Cruz absolutely handing the FBI director his own ass. This whole concept of the Gadsden flag. What was the other flag with the circle around it? The
Betsy Ross flag.
Betsy Ross flag. They're now labeling these flags as almost terrorist organizations. What in the world is going on with this?
So, it's kind of scary, the situation that has developed in the last, I'm going to say probably the last 4 or 5 years. It just seems that we have this weaponized component of our own government, and they're obviously very politically biased. And that bias at one point was maybe a little bit hidden or not quite as prevalent, but it just seems that now that this internal document has surfaced, now that was James O'Keefe over at Project Veritas was able to obtain this document. And what it was, to give you some background, was an internal document from the FBI of what they call militia violent extremists, or the abbreviation MVEs. And basically what it was an internal document meant to give all of their FBI field agents an idea of some of the things that they wanted to look for in what they would consider an extremist or whatever. Now, to be fair, just to be fair, they did in the document mention, hey, this is not a guaranteed, if you see these symbols or any of the stuff that we put in this document, we're not saying that they are that, but this is just something that you should look for. So to be fair, they're not saying that is exclusively like, oh, well, you're flying a Gadsden, you must be a weirdo, right? The issue is the political bias, right? When we look at the biases in the situation. Now, look, here's the thing. Everybody's got their right to have an opinion, to protest, to believe in what they believe in. And I believe very much in everyone's ability to have a say and to have the right to support who they want to support, and for whatever reason, right? Why isn't BLM or Antifa or any of these other organizations who, let's just say that if you were to remove all of your bias from the situation and just say, okay, 3%ers or Antifa or any political movement within whatever level of the political spectrum you want to put that in, right? If you were being objective and fair, you would just put all of those people in one document and say, hey, these are the people you need to look for, right? Like KKK or Antifa or anywhere on that political stratum. But when it exists solely on more of the conservative, right-leaning. There are even libertarian symbols in that document, right? And you see the black and yellow flag. That's a kind of a known libertarian color scheme. Anytime you go to a libertarian rally, you're going to see the black and the yellow. So the difficulty is, if you're only going to say that people on one side of the political spectrum are potentially dangerous, or whatever, it casts a shadow of doubt about the credibility of the people making these decisions. And I think that people are waking up to the fact that, there is political bias in these alphabet agencies. They've been abusing Chevron deference for years.
Yep.
And what Chevron deference gives them the ability to do is say, well, Congress didn't pass this law, but we're just going to interpret the law this way. Now, the recent Bruen case has actually thrown a huge wrench in Chevron deference and many of these assault weapons bans, magazine capacity bans, limitations on the carrying of firearms, the issuing of permits. The Bruen case, which is a recent Supreme Court case, really threw a big wrench in that in the good ways, because now anything that they can't just say, well, we're going to interpret it this way, so therefore, you know what, you do this, we're going to arrest you. And it's not the law, but it's just the way we're going to interpret it. No more interpretations. The Bruen case sets forth a very specific standard for how these things have to be passed. It has to go through the Congress. Now, what do we see? H.R. 1808.
Yep.
All right, we see now that they are trying to pass an assault weapons ban to sort of codify what they've been trying to shove down our throats for the last 2 decades or more. So we're sort of seeing the full circle effect of what this has become. So since they can't use Chevron deference to, let's just say, arbitrarily make something legal that isn't, now they have to go through the Congress, and that's precisely what they're doing. Now, it's still, even if H.R. 1808 gets through the Senate and makes it to the president's desk and is signed into a law, and if you don't know what that is, H.R. 1808 is a new assault weapons ban, which is, it is what it is, but that's what they're trying to pass, and it's made it through the House, it's going on to the Senate. Even if it does pass, it still has to pass scrutiny under Bruen. Bruen was a game changer, so I think these alphabet agencies are realizing that.
Yeah.
Right? So when you see this document surfacing, all it does is just give us more ammunition to kind of go, you know what, there is political bias here. And there is unfair practices. They are choosing and cherry picking who they want to go after and who they don't.
And that kind of leads me to my next question. You said cherry picking, and I've found that we've seen the media do that a lot. Cherry picking stories about mass shootings versus, where there's a bad mass shooter or a good guy stopping a mass shooter. And we've recently seen kind of a slight resurgence since the mall shooting, where a good guy with a gun stopped a mass shooting. And there's more and more reporting happening on good guys with guns. Mm-hmm. And I'm liking that. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, the devil's always in the details, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the devil's also in the data, right? And the data just does not back up what these people are trying to push in terms of anti-gun legislation, and even just the concept of anti-gun ideas, right? An anti-gunner sitting down with you and trying to explain why you should give up your God-given rights. The Second Amendment tells the government what they cannot do to us. Right. The Second Amendment is not a restriction on you as a person. It's actually a restriction. It is clear instructions to the government to not do this.
Right.
Right. It's the most clear language in the document. It's the Second Amendment. Yeah. What other amendment says shall not be infringed? Or what other amendment has, let's just say, a giant snake guarding it that says, hey, you get close to this, you're getting bit.
Yep.
Okay. So I think that society is starting to wake up to the fact, right, that there are more good people with guns than bad people, and that just because something bad with a firearm happens, you can't punish all the good people out there that want to protect themselves and ultimately protect the people around them. And I think, look, the mainstream media is not stupid, right? The people that run these shows, the people that run these articles, they have to sell ads, right? They have to get advertisers, they have to get dollars in to help support their cause, right? The media is no different than anybody else. They'll take a story and run with it, and then they've got to run ads against that. Well, what person doesn't love a good story? Like that 80-year-old out in California that shot that dude that was trying to rob him with a double-barrel shotgun.
Yep.
And the guy's running off, and 4 dudes in a stolen Beamer with a couple of ARs hightailed it. One of them with birdshot poking out of their arm. And an 80-year-old man who without his gun would probably be defenseless.
Right.
Who doesn't like that story?
I like it. And I've noticed a lot of CCTV footage where there are a group of guys invading a home or a business, and it just takes 1 or 2 shots in their direction, and they're fleeing.
That's right.
It's really important that we continue to fight for our rights and we don't let this get out of control. I feel like it is getting a little bit out of control with the gun control legislation and the way that the media has been portraying law-abiding citizens. You know, if we abide by the law, we will use our guns lawfully.
People are taking their own freedom into their own hands.
Yes.
Right? They're tired of the police not doing anything. They're tired of the police not showing up. They're tired of the police being late. They are stopping bad people where they see them.
100%.
And I think that you're seeing that. Society is starting to wake up and understand that, you know what, I need to be able to protect myself wherever I am.
And we've heard this argument many times that, you know, criminals are not going to abide by the law. They are criminals. So taking guns away from law-abiding citizens is a big mistake.
It is. And I think society is waking up to it. And,
yeah.
you know, that's really been like the entire sort of axiom in which my channel has evolved into over these years. I mean, we've been on YouTube for almost 14 years now, and I've been doing some of the political stuff for over a decade. So one thing that I keep coming back to is that how many times do we have to be right about things before people start listening?
Well, I think
now people are starting to listen.
Yeah, it's starting to happen. Well, Eric, thank you for coming on the channel. Really appreciate you. Appreciate everything you've done for us. Appreciate what you've done for the gun community. We consider you the godfather of the gun world, and we definitely are very appreciative for you to be around.
We'll see you all later. Got the escargot.
There you go, man.
Right.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.
Have a good one.
Guys, thanks for watching the video all the way to the end. We really appreciate that. If you have some extra time, check out our website, www.thekingofcamo.com. See what we have to offer. Also, we have a bunch of other really cool videos to watch right here.